Hi, thanks for joining me again. For today's video, I'm going to be taking us through the creation of this blank cover commission of Storm from the X-Men. Hey, it's me again. Appreciate you stopping by and watching another one of my videos. Again, this is me with a camera over my shoulder, demonstrating the process, working through a commission. I think this one took probably somewhere in the area of 2 hours, maybe just over 2 hours. So you're seeing it in hyperspeed here. And the client is a comic book fan of the X-Men, so he requested this be a depiction of Storm from the X-Men, which is that's part of my childhood. That's part of my 11-year-old self. I remember, riding my bike to the comic book store in my neighborhood and picking up the newest issue of whatever comic I was reading, and I was a big X-Men fan. So it was cool. I was happy to do this. It was a subject that interests me. I think sometimes the challenge of doing a commission is you're just really not into whatever it is you're asked to do, so you have to fight that battle and try to make good work, but still maybe it's not like your favorite thing to do. So sometimes that's a bit of a struggle. For the most part, I really struggled to get through this piece for most of the way. I was kind of flying blind for most of it. And I ran into some difficulty with the cardstock, and that's something that I kind of wanted to talk about here while you're watching. That is, sometimes maybe you're not super into the subject, maybe sometimes you're battling with the media, maybe it's just, the surface that you're working on. But I noticed sometimes that these blank covers have like a slickness to the cardstock, and it just wasn't playing nice with the Prismacolor or the Copic markers. So, I kind of was wrestling with that. Also, the other thing is I wanted to give the client something really unique and not just another, comic book pinup on a cover. So I wanted to do this sort of like, I don't know, not an intimate moment, but I guess a little bit more like that, where you're sort of just looking at this portrait and her hair's kind of flying around. So I saw a cover from an artist that I like the color scheme, and I like this sort of like up-close portrait. And then I used some references of some models for Storm's face, for the figure, in the pose. And then the color scheme, like I said, I like that, so I took that from somewhere, and I started with all these like greens and blues, and was trying to lay that in. And here you see I'm kind of going in with some more warm tones, some brown tones. And again, I think it's important to know that sometimes things just sort of go easy. You get in the zone, and everything seems to just happen, and you enjoy the process. And other times it's like a wrestling match where you're fighting for your life here, trying to do this. Now, again, this isn't something that I'm just doing for myself. I'm doing this for a client, and I want to make sure that they're happy with the result. And so there's a little bit more pressure, I guess, to come up with something that you don't hate. I made quite a few adjustments to this, and you could see in the beginning of the video, and then at the end of the video I'll show you the finished piece again. But I sort of was like, wow, the background isn't working with her white hair. I wanted a really high contrast look, a kind of a graphic look to this. But I like the colors in the background, and I like the texture that was being developed, but it just wasn't working against the white hair. So I ended up darkening a lot of the back. And then initially I was going to do this where it was just her face, and I wasn't going to include the headdress, her face and her hair without the headdress. But I thought that head piece or that hair piece really is how a lot of people identify with the character, plus the lightning part of it. So yeah, I did make quite a few changes to this after the video. You're seeing, a majority of it, but in the end here, in just a second, you're going to see the finished piece. And again, note that I ended up darkening the background quite a bit. I ended up going back in and retouching quite a few areas to just try to pull this thing together. And hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully the client enjoys the piece once I present that to him. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Like, there's like a little button that they put on the laptop or something, and then they say click it, and then you can never even miss a video.
That's if you subscribe.